Well, thank you. I'm thrilled to be here today with Colleen with the National Forest Foundation and Rob with Boxed Water. One quick note, we're going to take questions as they come up rather than leaving them all for the end. So feel free to put a question in the chat or raise the little hand emoji, and we'll fit it in as it fits into the conversation. I think most people here today understand that storytelling and a brand sharing their story behind their CSR initiatives can be really great for customer engagement. But sometimes a story and a partnership that helps you tell that are such a good fit that it's huge and far reaching and needs to be talked about. So that's exactly what happened with this partnership between Boxed Water and the National Forest Foundation. So today, Rob and Colleen are going to share with us how getting out the Boxed Water story around sustainability and impact has not only done good for the environment, but has been great for business, and how it would not have been possible without that specific partnership. And like any other good partnership, the National Forest Foundation has benefited greatly as well. So from that, Rob, do you want to start with a little background on the origin of the partnership? And we'll go from there.
Sure. And thank you, Sarah. I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Thank you.
So for those of people who don't know, Boxed Water is Better was the first national company to offer a sustainable alternative to plastic water bottles and aluminum cans. So in our grab and go society, we grab plastic bottles and we drink them. Only 9% are actually being recycled. The rest become garbage. And frankly, that's made from oil, a non-renewable resource, whereas our carton is made from mostly trees. We're 92% renewable. And we've been around for 10 years, and we literally called the company Boxed Water is Better because refillable is the best. And until the day comes when everybody's walking around where they're refillable, there's a niche for us to take on big soda, to take on big plastic, and remove plastic and aluminum from a single-use environment. So about 5 years ago, so we were 5 years in on this quest and making good headway. We at the company are always challenging ourselves. What can we do better? How do we make a bigger impact? How do we make a bigger splash in this world? And through 1% for the Planet, which is we're a member of, they introduced us to the National Forest Foundation. They said this is a perfect opportunity because not only are our cartons made of paper, but also the National Forests provide basically is the Earth's purifier. It's the filtration system for the water that comes in, that rains down and then comes into our lakes and streams. So it just seemed like a natural fit. We started talking to them, and the first conversation was more like Tom's shoes, where if you buy a Boxed Water, we'll plant a tree. But that quickly morphed because we weren't big enough. I mean, we're not as big as your Aquafinas and your Dasanis, and we were doing a lot of sampling and going to a lot of events and festivals. And we said, well, let's change the picture. And if you take a picture of our package and you post it on social media with the hashtag Better Planet or @BoxedWater, we'll plant 2 trees with the National Forest. I always laugh. I mean, Boxed Water is not planting the trees. National Forest Foundation, in collaboration with the Forestry Service, they're actually doing all the heavy lifting. But we've slowly we've quickly become a conduit of like-minded people that want to make one small, change in order to help the planet. And fast forward 5 years, we're up to 1.2 million trees, based strictly for free. I mean, from the consumer point of view, but strictly based on people, stepping out and doing one small step. So that, I think, in a nutshell, is where we have been. And then the conversation today really is how wonderful this partnership has been, and how like you said, I don't think we would exist without this partnership. And I don't think brands going forward, I think they're going to need to do things like this in order to survive in the new world.
Thanks, Rob. I appreciate that. And I just want to comment too, I ordered my sample box of the flavored waters and I cannot wait for it to get here. So stay tuned. Yes. So I would love to just give everybody a quick intro into the National Forest Foundation. And I usually do that by starting about what national forests are. So national forests make up 193 million acres here in the United States. And that is about 8.5% of the entire land mass of the US that is made up of these national forests. They're free for you to enjoy. They belong to all Americans. And my role here at the National Forest Foundation is to help connect the American public with these public lands that belong to them. And we do that through storytelling with some of our partners here, which is why I'm excited to be talking to this group at the network, as well as individual communication. And the way to get involved, it's either a recreation focus generally, or we're focused on forest health. And that's really where a partnership like Boxed Water and the NFF makes substantial change for the environment when they have made this kind of multi-million tree commitment. So Rob, do you want to tell them how you celebrated your 1 millionth milestone?
Yes, it was a joy. We reached our 1 millionth milestone last year. Actually, I went back and looked at some of the reports. It was May 15th of last year.
Mm-hmm.
And because we were in the midst of COVID, we decided to have a virtual tree planting with the National Forest Foundation. So it was very cool. What we did is the month leading up to that, in celebration, we opened up the ability, we actually took homage from a Native American tradition of naming trees and naming plants. And we set up on our website that you could come and name a tree or name a plant, because frankly, everybody was locked up inside and there were a lot of house plants, and people were getting in touch with nature again on a much smaller scale. And so we took that and we donated for every time people named a tree or named something in honor of somebody. I named a tree in honor of my daughter who got me involved in sustainability. And then we had a great event on Zoom with the National Forest Foundation with members. They were in the forest and they were talking about how they plant these trees and how they bring it up, because it's not just throwing seeds, it's quite elaborate. And then we celebrated it by having a planting in the backyard, and also just kicking off our next million. It took us 10 years. It took us 5 years to get to the first million. We're hoping to get to the next million in the next far less, 1 or 2 years. And we're on our way. We're actually accelerating as we go.
Yeah, you're picking up speed, I would definitely say. So what I think is valuable for this group to hear, or one of the takeaways I'd want you to hear, is that there are some phenomenal changes happening in consumer behavior. And that's not a surprise. Sustainability and climate change have only gained momentum, and sustainability is continuing to gain strength as a core value that consumers are making buying decisions against. So what we know is that millennials, so those people who are born between 1981 and 1996, are choosing 50% more often to buy. They're willing to spend more money, 10% more, on sustainable products. Yeah. What's fascinating to me is Gen Z, so the people behind Sarah and I, no offense, Rob, but they, that number.
I'm not a boomer. At least I miss the boomers.
I do have a boomer stat, so stay tuned, but you're stuck in the middle a little bit. Not stuck, you're perfectly situated in the middle. But what we know is that Gen Z is even more inclined. So they're at 53% willing to spend more money. And when you look back at history, the generations before millennials, so you got your Gen Xers, they're at 34% and boomers are at 23%. So that is a pretty massive change. And what's notable is millennials make up the largest buying pool now across the global population. So what are we doing as brands, not only to do the right thing for the planet, but also to make sure we're serving up these consumers what they want so that they can make an easy buying decision when it comes to point of sale. Rob, do you want to talk about what you've seen in your business?
Yes, actually, yes, because as you're talking, I mean, you're bringing back exactly. I mean, so let's back up. I mean, this is the right thing to do. Right. But also from a business perspective, it is a financially, and you look at financial, you look at HR, and you look at marketing. It makes sense across all three of those metrics. So the event that I mentioned that we had a year ago, we had over 13 million impressions over the course of that month, and primarily we're picking up the millennial crowd, which is a very skeptical crowd, and also a crowd that's been over marketed to, and so they're looking to critique and they're looking for holes in the argument, and this was a great opportunity to be authentic in front of them. I mean, I grew up in a time when the corporations, and I worked in a number of corporations where, at the end of the year, the finance team would give X number of dollars or X percent of sales to the United Way or to some philanthropic thing. And it wasn't part of the fabric of your company. It was just something that the executives did. That's not enough anymore. So let's break it down. So I mentioned marketing, I mentioned finance, and I mentioned HR. In marketing and branding and storytelling, consumers want full transparency. They have obviously the internet to be able to go for it, and they're looking to find out, what does your brand stand for? Because today, brands are no longer this logo. Brands are considered a collection of people, employees, and the consumer wants to know, what are you employees, what are you doing with my money? I mean, when I buy something from Patagonia, I know what they're going to do with my money. When I buy something from Merrill, I don't really know. I mean, I know Patagonia stands for the planet, and that they're going to do something right with it. And in either case, I'm going to get a good product. So now we've gone to the next level with that. From a marketing perspective as well, I mean, we're in the business to drive awareness, to break through the noise, to get in front of people and grab their attention. So 13 million impressions for this event that we did. We were planting trees. We had 25,000 additional web views that particular year, which was up 40%. We had 2,000 online submissions. If you fast forward to today, we just went through another Earth Month that had more. We morphed it to, everyone's still indoors, so we morphed it to say, use less plastic and plant more trees. And we had a series of events all the way from panelists with our partners, Alaska Airlines, who just announced that they're going to be switching to the cartons, to brands like Tom's or AG Jeans. So all these different brands coming together, sharing our message of sustainability, tree planting, and less plastic to all of their people. So now all of a sudden I'm leveraging my marketing dollars and getting in front of a whole group of consumers that are from the travel industry all the way to the fashion industry. And again, I couldn't do that just saying, hey, I'm a good water. And frankly, I couldn't do it as effectively if it was just, I'm a sustainable water. But when I say I'm a sustainable water, I'm a good water, by the way, but I'm a sustainable water. By the way, hey, why don't we all come together and plant some trees together? All of a sudden, you have a message that is a magnet to companies, to companies, to rock bands, to yoga studios, to everybody. And the research that we've seen is exactly what you've seen. I'm 56 years old. At 55, apparently, us old people go, oh, recycling's enough. We don't really care about, I mean, I shouldn't say we don't care, but isn't recycling enough? When you get 55 and under, and then obviously 45 and 35, there is our numbers are slightly different. When we look at our consumers on our website, and we ask them, we have over 95% of the people who say that one of the top 3 things they think about is sustainability and the environment. And another thing is, what are you doing? So that goes back to, what are you doing with my money? Are you helping in the greater good? And so from a marketing perspective, from an HR perspective, this helps us in recruiting, because you can recruit people to say, we're doing something good. We go on Arbor Day pre-COVID, we would all go out and plant trees. We've gone out and gone out with the NFF and watched you guys plant trees. So from the HR perspective, it's great for recruiting. It's great for morale. From a marketing perspective, it amplifies our message. It provides us tons of content to talk about. There's always more being talked about. And the National Forest Foundation is always giving us, they're always planting, so they're always giving us more content to talk about. There's also an opportunity to meet like-minded brands, like the National Forest Foundation introduced us to Alaska Air. They've introduced us to other brands who they've partnered with, or have partnered with them and said, hey, why not, 1 + 1 = 3, why don't we all get together? And then I've talked long enough, but from a financial standpoint, we could talk about that as we get further in, because this all adds up to a bottom line benefit.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that. I was going to say, Rob, maybe can you change your hats? Because I know you wear many hats at Boxed Water, but if you took off your CMO hat and put on the CRO hat, one thing, well, I'll talk.
Go.
One thing that made me so satisfied with this partnership last year, and we're on track to beat it this year already in 2021. When we looked at that bottom line number for 2022 for the year, your advertising value equivalent for this partnership was $2.5 million.
Yeah.
So you have made a tremendous investment in trees over the course of 5 years, and your numbers are looking pretty darn good. I think you're at 1.2 already this year. So I look forward to the check. Ha ha ha. But move forward, like we're on track to have a banner year with you.
Yeah.
And what's important is not only are you getting trees in the ground, so that's in alignment with your values. Yeah. You have a very positive impact on the planet, and you're getting an advertising dollar that is on top of all of that. So your investment is actually triple fold.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I remember when you showed that to me, I almost fell out of my chair, because again, these are the unintended consequences or results where I mean, so think about it though, that's $2.5 million that I did not have to spend in order to get my name in front of viewers, and again, and get that in front of people in an authentic way. Because it's not just, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Rob. I was just going to say, this is like the Cinderella of partnerships, where
we are.
It just comes together. And I think that speaks to the true authentic nature of both of your organizations. And it's not an afterthought, it's built in. Colleen, do you want to speak a little bit to the exposure that the National Forest Foundation has also gotten through this?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for asking. So we, as a national nonprofit, obviously have much more modest budgets than a private or a public brand would have. And so the most valuable thing, in addition to Rob's excellent company and companionship and tree planting, is that was a mutual amplification of the National Forest Foundation brand. And the dollars and the stretch that we saw to have 13 million impressions in the month of May, in a single month when COVID had locked everybody down, was absolutely game-changing for the growth of our audience as well. In fact, 2020 was record-breaking, not only for the outdoors, but for the growth of the National Forest Foundation. So we couldn't be more grateful to have partners like Rob and the team at Boxed at the table with us.
Mm-hmm. I'm conscious that I'm talking because I
no, and I'm so sorry. I did not mean to interrupt you.
No,
please. Just throw that point in there.
Otherwise, we'll get carried away.
Rob, do you want to speak? You talked about it just a little bit, but about these other opportunities that you've had because of the awareness. Because I think, bottom line, of course, everyone looks at it, but awareness and future opportunities to promote yourself to even a greater bottom line is, what everyone's looking for.
Yeah. No, I let's see, last time I looked, so Coke and Pepsi, who own Dasani and Aquafina, they have $8 billion worth of marketing that they spend annually. And that's $8 billion, which we obviously don't have a fraction of. And so I know for a fact that we would not get the first 5 years, we got on a number of grocery store, but you're just a little, white box sitting on a shelf, right? In a store with 140,000 SKUs. So I know that this is cut through the clutter from a marketing messaging standpoint. And I can actually, I wrote down some stats this morning as I was looking at it, because just again, if you're in marketing, and if you're in, especially in digital marketing, which is, you know, where a lot of the funds are going, our direct mail open rate is over 30% in the average, which is 3 times the average direct mail open rate. Our engagement on social media is quadruple what an average water company would be getting. What does that mean? That means people are clicking on our Instagram feeds and our Facebook feeds, again, because they want to be informed of what's going on. And they're engaged in the tree plantings and the social good that we're doing. I would say over 25% of our content creation comes from around these sort of ideas. This last month we had over just 1,000 shares. We only have a couple days that we were able to measure, but 1,000 shares directly related to the National Forest Foundation. We were going to post, we planted trees every time that this particular feed was shared. And so far, we haven't even finished counting, but we're already over 10 million impressions. And we haven't even looked at what all the influencers, and by the way, our influencers, by and large, we don't have to pay our influencers because A, we don't have a lot of money. But
we spend it on trees.
But I always say, trees are our celebrities. We don't spend money on influencer celebrities. We spend money on trees, and we've had very authentic and very good conversations with a number of celebrities who do post for us. I won't say for us because we don't pay them, and that's also very heartwarming to know that celebrities get free product all the time, and influencers get paid to post all the time. But we basically say, you know, we want you to have skin in the game. We want we want to benefit from your post, but we want to be authentic. We want to make sure that what you're doing is for the right reasons and not because we're paying you. We'll give you here, have a free product. And in celebrities' cases, most of them say, no, we'll pay you. We'll give us a wholesale deal, but we'll pay because they know that a portion of all of our dollars are going to go to the National Forest Foundation. So it's a great circular conversation. And then other things from a business perspective is we've teamed up with retailers like Come and Go, which is a convenience store throughout the Midwest, a big chain. And we said they've partnered with us to plant 10,000 trees based on the number of cases that they bought. And then they advertise that in their cold case to say, help us plant 10,000 trees, buy a boxed water, because that'll help flow back through to the National Forest Foundation. So there's so many different ways from trade to consumer that you can, and I hate to say it because it just sounds cheesy, but you can monetize this messaging. But again, that's not the intent. When we sat down, our finance guy was, you're going to do what? You're going to pay them what? And you're going to get what? You're going to get nothing. You're not even going to get, it's not even going to be buy one, plant one. And we're like, no, because we don't have, that wasn't leverageable. I mean, in the sense of we weren't enough places for people to buy us. So it would have been like 10 trees. So we said, no, we want to get people at Lollapalooza to be planting trees left and right. And fast forward again 5 years, there are companies, there are celebrities, there are brands like Rag & Bone and AG Jeans who are coming to us and saying, we know you make good water, but we also want to be part of the tree planting. So we have gotten accounts because of this. And again, not the intent, but what a great benefit, and what a great case study that says, again, I go back to every brand needs to do this because the consumer is demanding it, and it's also just the right thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, I would say certainly you can plant trees with us. We also do recreation focused work and water focused work. We do a lot of work other than tree planting. But to get at Rob's point, find whatever the social good and sustainable path forward is that is brand right and falls in alignment with the values of your brand. And, to be fair too, I think the other thing that we've been partners for 5 years. I didn't join the NFF until about 2 years ago. And I think that's, we didn't have marketing before then. And I think certainly I will toot my own horn and say that that's made a difference as well. So make sure you suss them out, check Charity Star ratings. That's an incredibly important barometer of how well somebody is showing up and what they're doing with your money. I think that's a really good gauge of what's going on. So double check that, but figure out what is right for your organization and absolutely do it. And Rob, I was going to ask you, how does it feel to be such a thought leader in sustainable work starting 5 years ago before it was popular?
It's so rewarding at this point to see everybody, this groundswell of consumers and people coming together to help. Yes, and frankly, kudos to you. I'm excited to see so many brands like Alaska Air and Subaru and Ford stepping up and saying we want to help too. I mean, you must feel great about how you've got. What's your bold goal how many trees do you have to plant?
50 million by 2023. So keep selling water. We're making progress, and I don't think that we will stop when we hit 50 million. We're part of the 1 trillion trees initiative, which is part of the World Economic Forum. And so the need is far beyond 50 million, and we're going to do our part. And when we hit that goal, I think we'll double down. Rob, you set the bar high, planted 1 million, going to plant another 1 million. So why not? We'll just keep it going.
Oh no, I want to. The earth needs it, and it's fun. My God! And we, again, back to morale. It feels great to be part of this company. You wake up in the morning knowing that you're doing something that's making a difference, more than just selling water or whatever. And I want to touch on the point that you made, Colleen, because it is good. And I strongly believe I've worked at Fortune 500 companies, and I've worked at this company, which someday will be. But my point is that all of these companies have the ability to do it. And I talk to a lot of the younger people who are just coming up the ranks. And it really does come down to find a tribe within your group, find out what your community believes in. It can be trees, it can be social issues, it can be, heck, I was on Rocket Mortgage yesterday, and they're donating, they're building houses for veterans. And I'm like, well, that's cool. I mean, I would never have put that together, but so find what's meaningful to you, and then work your way up the ladder with management. We just had a panel discussion the other day with a number of big brands, and they said, what makes a great brand? How do you guys become more sustainable as a brand? And they said it's smart leaders listening to smart employees. And so it's a good test for everyone's company to say, hey, this is important to us. How do we make it happen within this organization? And that's very fulfilling.
Yeah,
I can imagine.
Yeah.
And then using that as a platform to tell everyone about it and not be ashamed of the philanthropy and the giving back. Really have it as part of your organization.
Yeah.
What does the future hold for this partnership and for both of your organizations?
Well, since I heard Rob commit to being a Fortune 500 company, I am going to be the one to help us get to 50 million. That's what I heard. And it's recorded.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I guess if we were Fortune 500, we'd have to reset your bar to 100 million.
That sounds good to me. So from my perspective, the need for tree planting and sustainable partnerships is only going to grow, no pun intended with the trees. But since we see, we're in fire years, we're no longer in fire seasons. Natural disasters like hurricanes also mean, and bug infestations mean, that the demand has never been higher, and that's not changing. We also know that consumer behavior is probably not going to change. So this is a trajectory that I would encourage everybody to get on. With the National Forest Foundation, you can start with a modest partnership, starting at the $10,000 mark, or even $500 if that's where you're at right now. So I would say find your cause, get on board, and start telling those stories, because that is the true unlock. To be able to together hit more than 2.5 million in advertising value, plus planting more than 1 million trees, that's powerful and that's game changing. And we need to see more of that in the world. Rob, how about you?
we're going to be doing more and more. I mean, our goal, frankly, our goal is to expand beyond the million trees, continue to get to 2 million, 3 million, 4 million. But what I'm excited about is what's happened in the last few months, where we're partnering up with Alaska Airlines. We're partnering up with brands that the National Forest Foundation is, and seeing how the triple threat could really create something. So, I mean, we haven't landed on it, but we've talked about it. You can right now, if you fly Alaska Airlines. So we'll plant 2 trees if you take a picture of our box. They'll plant a tree if you fill up a refillable and get on their plane. So I'm excited about, that's 3 trees just by taking 1 flight. I'm excited about like the exponential things that we can do as you start leveraging the power of these major brands, these brands that are Fortune 500 companies. And as we succeed, I'm also excited to see other companies jumping in the mix and realizing that this is profit as well as purpose, and that it works well, and it is overall the solution to all the pollution that we're dealing with.
There you go. I knew that was in there somewhere. Thank you for saying that. That's my favorite one-liner that he says.
But at the end of the day, the solution to the pollution is banding together, and is partnerships like this. And I'll throw in one more thing. I mean, again, I'm old. There was, gosh, I remember a day when there wasn't a partnership job description. Right now, you can become a director of partnerships, right? That didn't exist before. And so just the fact that people are focusing on this, I mean, we're not alone. Everybody's recognizing that this is the power that brands have for good, to make a change that's good. So I'm sorry. And in our world, in boxed water, to be honest, we're going to expand. We already expanded flavors. We just came out with 4 new for Earth Month. So come out. I'm excited about days when we have like special plantings for special boxes. Like this one will be for a specific national forest, and this one will be for another national forest, and then we can personalize that with people in Wisconsin, for example. They can have their own box and their own thing. That's what the future holds, because then you really get people excited about it, because it brings it home to them.
There's really so many great ideas, and I love how they all also incorporate the consumer. It's not just something you all are doing, it's involving people so they can feel like they're a part of it and giving back as well.
Yeah.
Is there any call to action that you all want to leave people with that we haven't already talked about?
Well, certainly both individuals and businesses can donate through nationalforest.org. So if you're looking to tree planting, or you're interested in water, or your business is more recreation focused, again, there is no donation too small or too large. So if this is something that you're interested in, contact Rob. He can be my first point of reference. We always tease each other about being in sales departments for each other's brands. I'm sure my contact information is in this, and we'd be very happy to have a conversation and explore if it feels right for you. And if not, there's some other organizations that we would also recommend. And Rob, I know you work with a more ocean focused partner. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes. So we work with Ocean Blue Project. So we are committed to cleaning 3,000 miles of beaches from coast to coast with them, as well as, it's fun. We also clean beaches, because everyone now knows that plastic is one of the is the number one thing that people find, number one pollutant on our ocean beaches now. So yeah, my call to action is, get involved. I mean, it's literally go to the National Forest Foundation as an individual, check it out. It's needed, but then also take the message back to your company and explain to them, and I'll be your reference. This is both profits as well as purpose. Our company would not exist without this element of it, and making it part of your brand values. And then the other thing is, obviously, take a picture of our box, put it on social media, and plant 2 trees. We would love to just keep planting. And those would be the 2 things that I'd ask everybody to do.
Those are wonderful. Well, thank you both so much for your time and insight. I think a lot of brands can learn from what you all have shared today, and at the very least, get excited, go plant a tree, drink boxed water. But no, it's really valuable information and a really creative, good, authentic partnership. And I think that's why you all have had so much success. And thank you so much for sharing today.